All right, we are live. I can say the prayer if that's okay.
Short.
All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us meeting as a group today, and thank you for this time we have to learn from one another. We are grateful for this opportunity that we have to receive our education, and we ask thee that our hearts and minds will be open to learning and that we will be able to help each other at this time.
Amen. I think you cut out.
Sorry, yeah, amen.
Okay. I heard about half of it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right.
Vanessa, you look so fancy.
I'm in Hawaii.
Ooh, lucky you.
Yeah.
Jealous.
That's my Christmas present.
Jealous.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I want to go. Anybody have a spiritual thought they want to share?
Doing the share the light, I think is what they're calling it for December, and it's supposed to be like 5 days of service.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they'll be the light the world, right?
Yes, light the world.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to focus on this month. Well, we should just get to this because I don't have like a ton of time, and I think we should let Vanessa enjoy Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, what grade would you give Morgan? What grade would you give Morgan for how he pursued Skyhook and why?
Did you say how he presents it?
B.
For how he
really wasn't that prepared.
Pursued it. Okay.
I would give him an A for effort. Maybe a B or a C in execution. If that makes sense.
I think the same thing. He did a lot, honestly. Like I don't know, like the way that he got money in the beginning. Like he had his office in some attic, and the other person like lived off his savings, and I felt like they put a lot of effort into their startup. And I think they tried a lot, like going to big corporations and like talking about their plan, trying to get more investors.
Yeah, I think they worked really hard and they pulled out a lot of stops, and they took out credit card loans and rented from apartments and sold their houses and stuff. But I think the idea foundationally, it was just a really hard idea, and yeah, I don't think they were necessarily prepared enough. And I also think it was just a hard idea to execute, and
it was kind of before their time.
Yeah.
I mean, ahead of their time. That's what I was going to say. Ahead of their time. So it was like kind of hard.
Can you guys hear me at all?
I can hear you now.
Hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry, I'm like bouncing around my apartment trying to find a room that works best. Yeah, I don't know exactly what grade you guys said you'd give him. I said I'd give him a B because his business plan really wasn't that clear, and the way he kind of moved through everything, I thought it was really kind of not planned out very well, but he did do a lot.
Yeah, it's almost like they had a product and they're like, this is what it does. and this is really cool, but we don't have a plan of how we're going to sell it. We don't have a plan of like how we want to monetize it. We don't really have
Well, and they didn't even, he says in the beginning, they didn't even have like a for sure market, like a target customer.
Right. So it's like we developed this technology that will be really useful, but we don't really know where to go from there. Um, and I think that kind of answers the next question, which says the why the lack of sales. Because I think he had an interesting idea, but you have to know how to sell your idea and you have to know how to implement your idea too. It seems like they just said like, oh, location-based stuff is going to be big, so let's get on it, but we don't know why it's going to be big. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I think it was kind of a risky thing for investors to see because it wasn't a big thing yet. There's GPS and there's like Wi-Fi, you know?
Yeah,
they didn't
well,
really
and
know what they were getting themselves into.
I was surprised reading about it because I was under the impression that GPS does the majority of location all the devices we have right now, doesn't it?
I thought Google did it, but I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know if this technology took off or not because can't you? I feel like you can get location services when you're not connected to GPS on certain devices.
Well, I think that is now, but like back then, because I think that was like back in 2007, GPS isn't how it is now.
Right.
Because I mean, there's like lots of different roads and stuff that the GPS doesn't even have in their system. Compared to then.
I've used a couple of different GPS services. So I had like a Magellan one that you like attach to your windshield, and it was a separate GPS than your phone. And
you
actually download software every time that you wanted to go. It wasn't like using Google where you would connect and it would have the most up-to-date thing. I mean, Google also gives you update traffic reports right now. So if you went into an area that you didn't usually go into, like if you were, you purchased the device on the West Coast, but you wanted to go East Coast, you'd actually have to go in to their website and then buy the data package that went along with the West Coast or East Coast area and then have it downloaded into your machine.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tech. And I don't know, I think it's kind of a hard sell because they basically had to create their entire network. Like, it's great that the Wi-Fi exists, but they had to map the whole thing out with cars and stuff. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like to me that'd be a hard sell because it's like, well, GPS already exists. You could put time and effort into just like implementing that into devices instead of trying to map out the entire roadmap of the United States.
Yeah, that seemed really tricky when they were talking about that.
Well, especially because Wi-Fi networks can move around and stuff. Maybe I just don't understand the tech well enough, but when I was reading it, I was like, I think I'd probably just rather go with GPS if I was like a person that had a ton of money to invest.
Yeah, I was confused on that too because they talked about like partnering up with phone towers and stuff, and then like I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. It was confusing. It's hard to really think about it though because nowadays all this stuff is readily available to us.
That's true.
Well, and clearly they were right that location-based stuff was going to be huge because like everything uses location now, even things that you don't know why. Like you download some game and it wants your location. And it's like, okay. Well, it says review the deals and describe the deal, the outcome, and the lessons learned. So Microsoft. Microsoft offer deal. Huh?
Oh no, just go. Sorry.
So didn't Microsoft make a deal where they would pay a lump sum some to use like in one product division, and they would also get a percentage of the devices sold. But then later, Microsoft reneged on that and said, "We'll just give you this amount, and we can use it as much as we want," or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It was just kind of weird because they're like, okay, sign this, like we're going through with the deal, and then he sent it back to Microsoft, and then Microsoft, like what, 7 days later, emailed him or something like that, like basically saying like the deal was off, but we'll give you like 100,000 for whatever it was, which was kind of a low ball, but I thought they were kind of sketch.
Yeah, it seems like Microsoft really devalued the deal. So the impression I get is that they probably played around with the software, or talked to higher up executives, and somewhere down the line decided that it wasn't as valuable as they originally pitched. Yeah, so they decided to offer some chump change to see what they could get. So yeah, lessons learned. I think I don't know. I think you need to negotiate more aggressively. You need to set your own terms and have like a clear plan of what you want from both parties. I don't think they really had that.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did either. I think they were just kind of like testing the waters, but weren't really prepared.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
E911 is the next deal. I don't even remember clearly which one that was.
Oh, I think that was the 911 where they're like they weren't able to get the exact location, so if someone called for an emergency, it could have been like they could have been calling like a dispatcher from like a different location that wasn't near them.
Oh, okay.
And so it was kind of faulty. I'm
Right.
pretty sure like that's kind of like what I picked up. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, no, I think I remember that now. I don't remember the details of how that went through, though. Do you guys remember the outcome of that?
I just know that they had to go through like a lot of districts, like a lot of like Congress or something like that. I don't think it went well.
Okay, so what would we say the lessons learned from that one are?
Mm.
I personally, huh?
No, go ahead.
Well, I feel like it's kind of the same thing. Like, I don't know. It's just in the same. It's the same one with Nokia. Like, it's like they had this cool idea, but it's like they were playing everything by ear. It's like, okay, let's see what kind of deal this person can offer us, and then we'll just kind of see what we can offer them, and then we'll just like see how it happens. And then with Apple, Steve Jobs called him. He's like, "Oh, I don't really know what I'm gonna propose." So it's almost like they're just waiting on people to want their product, and then like seeing what the offers were, and then trying to adapt to those offers. And I think with E911 and Nokia and Apple, probably we didn't see how the Apple one went, but I feel like they just need to be able to say, "This is what our product can be used for. This is what we want out of it. These are our terms." I feel like they just never did that.
Yeah, I don't feel like ever throughout the whole thing, they were never really clear on what they wanted. They just had a cool idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might be kind of mean, but that's just how I felt. Like they just never really knew what they wanted. They're just kind of going with it. Like, we'll just see what we can get from this.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that answers that question. All right. Hold on. So who benefits from the technology? What problem does it solve? Who has this problem? Do the business decision makers and the companies feel the pain that this solution solves? So in this instance, I think we have an example here of basically an emerging technology. People can see the writing on the wall, and a bunch of people are trying to figure out how to make it mainstream. I mean, we've seen this before in the tech industry. Like, you had the whole battle between VHSs and whatever the competitor was, like Betamax or whatever. You had like Blu-rays versus HD DVD. You always have these technical things that become the way. Like now, we all have location-based services, and they're built into everything. I mean, obviously, us in this group, we don't know the exact specifics of how it works, but it seems like they knew that it was going to be a thing, and they tried their own way to implement it. And I think it's just one of those instances where it's like an early competitor. Obviously, we know the benefits of what their product do because we all use smartphones that use location-based technology for all kinds of things, for our traffic, for apps, everything. So yeah, I guess my opinion is that it introduces the idea of location technology, but is it the best way to do it? So I think the companies are all kind of searching for this thing, but they're searching for the right way, the easiest way to implement it. Does that make sense?
I would agree with you. I think it's something we all use, definitely, or at that would have benefited from the technology. But I don't know. Should we move on to number 7?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Which strategy option do you favor? Local ads, sell a company, or persevere? I would sell a company. I don't feel like they have like really any idea what they're doing, and they're just kind of all over the place. And I feel like that would be much better with somebody like Apple or Google.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, 100%. Just sell it. Like, it's already been way too hard to implement. Just dump it. Let someone else take care of it and get rich.
Chew.
Huh?
I think they just bit off more than they could chew.
Well, yeah, and if you have a prospect like that that's like really hard to make it work, and you've taken out second mortgages and gone broke like trying to fund it, and it's a really bumpy road ahead, and you have big giant companies offering you millions of dollars to buy it, like, shoot, man, just
sell it.
I would sell it in a freaking heartbeat, even if it was my baby. Like, yeah, I'd rather just sell it. And if you really have a passion for creating things and starting new ventures, just use your money to make a new venture, like, yeah. Okay, convince everyone in your group that you have the right plan. For each of the options above, discuss how likely Skyhook will be to succeed given the following circumstances. Well, I think we all have the same plan.
Yeah.
So we talked about selling the company. It says, how likely are they to succeed if they do the local ads or if they persevere? I think both are far less likely than selling. It's possible that if they sell, the mother company just dissolves, the Skyhook company just takes a few of its concepts, but it doesn't really matter because you've gotten away with a ton of money and you're not really in it anymore.
And that wasn't that his overall purpose. He just wanted to find a way to get. At the beginning of the case, it talks about how he basically wanted to be a founder of a company because it was the best way for him to get rich.
So, right.
Yeah, that's true. He did talk about that.
So, I mean, like, I feel like selling would be even what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, like, I hate this idea of like you always have to have more money. Like sometimes I look at America and I'm like, why isn't it enough to just have a lot of money? Like, because you have all these business executives where the only goal is to make the most money. If I could be a chance of being an insta millionaire or like multimillionaire, I would take that right away, even if it meant I could have way more money in the future if I persevered. Because the bottom line, once you have a lot of money, it's a lot easier to get a lot more money. But you need money to get money. I don't know. But I think we've talked about that sufficiently.
I feel like if they were to go with the other two, I don't know what they mean by local ads, if that just means kind of run just local things. But I feel like they would fail if they tried to persevere or do that, honestly, with what they have.
I can just see them running out of expenses and then being screwed over and wishing they would have sold their product to Apple or something.
Well,
yeah.
And when you're one of these companies, a lot of times a Microsoft deal or an Apple deal or Nokia deal, you know, they come once and then they don't come again. A lot of times if they come knocking and you turn them down, then you gave up your shot. That's not always true, but it quite often is. Okay, finally, it says prepare an agenda for your call with Steve Jobs. What are Jobs' interests? Why did he call you? Who should pay? Will you pay Apple to get onto their device, or will Apple pay you? How much will you propose? Support your answer. Any thoughts on that one?
I would think our first choice would be to sell the whole thing to Jobs, with our BATNA being just having him sign on and using our product.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, this is. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know what Jobs' interests are. I don't know if it ever really talked about it.
I don't know. It didn't really say anything. I would be more interested in just selling to Jobs and just letting him take control of it. I would probably try to avoid a sort of partnership with Jobs, because Jobs is a genius, but he's also like a dictator.
He's a cruel genius.
Yeah, Jobs was insane, and like working with him could be extremely difficult. So instead of trying to like form some kind of partnership, some kind of mutually beneficial deal, I would rather just say, hey, Jobs, you want this tech? I'll just sell it to you. You can do whatever the heck you want with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll walk away. I think that's the best deal.
Definitely.
I wouldn't want to be partners with him. Like what you said, he is crazy. I watched that movie about Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I mean, he was brilliant, but not a very nice person or an easy person to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much all the questions. So,
do we want to summarize it? Somebody want to summarize it real quick?
Sure, I could do that. Okay. Let's see here. So we decided that Skyhook had a very good idea, and it's an idea that we see is very useful in today's day and age. They saw the writing on the wall that location-based services would be a very integral part of our daily devices, but I think Skyhook's problem is that they weren't prepared enough. They had a good idea and they didn't have a solid approach as to how they wanted to pitch it to companies, of how they wanted to monetize it, of how they wanted to go forward. It just seems like they developed a cool idea and didn't really know what to do with it. And we think that was evident in the way that their deals kind of happened and fell apart with other companies. They just needed more structure, a better plan. We feel like the best approach for them is to sell the company and to just kind of walk away with it with a big profit. We felt like the best approach with Steve Jobs was to offer their tech at a just at a lump price and just sell it to Jobs and let them take care of it, let them do with it what they want. We think working with Jobs and Apple is a tremendous opportunity, probably the biggest that they had for the company, but we would be wary of an actual partnership with Jobs, given his reputation as being very ruthless and difficult to work with. We would rather sell him the tech and walk away than have a sustained relationship with him, even if it meant maybe sticking around a few years for a greater profit in the future. And that is it.
Yes, awesome.